Sometimes you just gotta go bar down.
Krull, top titty 2x4 to end the game. That was nice.
Bardown Beauties.
That's the sexy part of the game, is it not? The plays and the goals and the...
Yeah, that's what you guys like. I mean, it is great.
And now, a new episode of Bardown Beauties with Jessi Pierce and Kirsten Krull. Hello, everybody. What's up? Bardown Beauties, episode 278. I'm Jessi Pierce, writer for NHL.com, co-hosted with Kirsten Krull in arena hosts for the Minnesota Wild and the PWHL Minnesota Frost. Speaking of the Frost, joining us now, Heather Rule, who has covered the Frost since the inaugural season, hardest working writer there is out there. Heather, welcome to the Bardown Beauties podcast. I feel like this is the first time we've had you. We've been friends for years. We're in the press box together. I apologize that it's been so long since we've had you.
Yeah, I think this is my debut with you guys. So I'm excited. Long time coming, but yeah, this should be good.
It is. It'll be great. Like I said, Heather has covered the Frost extensively, probably their top beat writer for without question. Frost are now battling to repeat as champs of the PWHL, obviously them winning it all last year. A lot of changes, a lot of things happening. But first of all, I'm surprised. And Kirsten, I know you're also very heavy-handed with the Frost. You've seen more than I have. I think I've caught one game, unfortunately, this year. But from what I'd heard, the Frost weren't doing that well this year. Are you guys surprised that they made it into the playoffs at all?
Yes. Yes. I was surprised. Although I guess this is kind of the second year now where maybe we shouldn't be surprised because they're just continuing to, buck all the trends. And I mean, last year it was even worse, right? They came back from that international break, they were on a roll, and then they were, 0-5 to finish the regular season, needed help to get into the playoffs. Then they were shut out twice in Toronto for the first two games. And so I remember coming to game 3 last year, like, well, this is it, end of the season right here, because they did not look very good. And it wasn't quite as bad this year, but they were out of a playoff spot, before they went on their international break, and weren't scoring a lot of goals in their games either. I think overall they're like the top scoring team, but it's been feast or famine a little bit too. Like you saw, last night they scored 7 goals. They scored 5 before that. They've had a few other games where they've scored 4 or 5 goals, but then other times they've been shut out or they've had 1 goal. And they were shut out in their home finale against New York to effectively 1-0. It was an empty netter 2-0 game. And playoffs were not a certainty. They had 2 games left, and on the road they needed to win those and then get a little help too to make the playoffs, and it just didn't seem like that was necessarily going to happen, and they went out and did it, made the playoffs, and now they're up in the series 2-1 and are 1 win away from making the final again. So it is a little bit surprising to me.
I'm, to reiterate what Heather said, very surprised. It was a position we seemingly weren't supposed to be in. We were all ending the regular season like, we might see you guys, but it's looking like we most likely won't. Head over to Boston. I believe it was an 8-3 final to close out the regular season. They punched their ticket. Here they are now, 2-1 in the series. It's very similar how they backed in to the playoffs like last year. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them competing in the championship once again for a second straight year. Well, and as you'd mentioned, Heather, they are scoring goals, which was something that they had lacked throughout most of the season, especially heading in. Cava seems to be the number 1 goal getter, but who are some of the offensive powers behind? We all know Taylor Heise. We've had Taylor Heise, good friend of the pod, Grace Zumwinkle as well, but who are some of the powerhouses that could lead the Frost into a possible title round?
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned Cava, and she had 2 goals in game 3, and she basically wins championships. There's nothing else for her. She's won like 4 in a row or whatever it is, something crazy. So she's been clutch. Lee Steckline on the blue line. Game 2 in Toronto, they scored 5 goals. 4 of them were from defenders for the Frost. And Lee Steckline has the offensive numbers weren't really there throughout the season for her. And she's one of those. I mean, obviously, everyone in Minnesota know who she is, and she has Olympics on her resume and all that. And she's great on the blue line, but she has come up clutch in these playoffs for sure with, a couple goals she scored again last night and assists. Taylor Heisey, I think, had 3 assists. Um, Kendall Quinn Schofield is another, I think she led shots on goal last night with 5 of them. Sophie Jakes had another game with a goal and assist last night too. Again, on the blue line, she's another one that's really come up big, and that was in a trade last year in the inaugural season that she came over to Minnesota, and she's been, I think that was a really good trade for both teams. I think that was with Boston. And then we saw, the rookies have contributed to Brooke McQuaig had 2 goals in game 3, and they've really just been opportunistic, I think, with the Frost as well. So yeah, Kava, Heisey, Grace Zumwinkel, I think, has had a good season too. She's been a little bit snake bitten, I think, with some of the offense. I think she had a breakaway in game 3 and couldn't quite convert that. But, she's contributed. She had a great pass to Brooke McQuaig for one of her goals too, which was great to see. But I think that's the thing too, is they're getting contributions from all over and the depth. They had Liz Shepherd on the 4th line, and last year, similar thing in the playoffs. She really didn't have the offensive production, and they got to the playoffs against Toronto, and she had, like 4 assists. She had, a goal that, that was her like only goal this season. And so I think they just have a lot of depth that they're relying on, and they're able to put the puck in the net lately.
And reminder, their semifinals, it's best of 5, correct?
Yes.
In that opening round. So they are just one win away from advancing to face the other semifinal team, which is TBD, Ottawa and Montreal. Ottawa and Montreal, you guys going to quadruple overtime. Kirsten, I'm sure you were glad you weren't working a game like that on Mother's Day.
Just thank you, bless. I've worked my fair share of overtime games this year, and I'm very happy.
Same.
Last
Yeah.
night was not one of them, especially quadruple overtime. No, thank you.
Yeah, Heather, it'd be a late night for you too. And I just couldn't imagine the rewrites, constant
Yeah.
rewrites. But
I might have just I joked last night, like I might have just left. I don't know, 4 overtimes.
just
No,
bail. I am so out of here. But that series is tied, correct?
Yes.
They're one.
Yeah.
They're behind still. So they're 1-1 right now. Montreal was the number 1 overall, right? And they selected Ottawa to face in the semifinals. So very interesting. Who would you rather see, Kirsten, again, knowing that you have, or not Kirsten, Heather, the other girl that's on this podcast as well right now. Heather, as you've covered this team and you've seen Montreal and Ottawa extensively here when the Frost have hosted them, who would you rather face if Minnesota is indeed to get past Toronto in this first round? Who would you rather see for it all?
I mean, it's tough, right? There's so much talk about, the parity in the league. The teams talk about that all season. And as it turned out, the final standings, I mean, the teams that made the playoffs, that 3 of them had the same amount of points. They had to go down to regulation wins to determine the playoff structure there. But I think, I don't know, I'd maybe rather see Ottawa. Montreal has been so good all year. So I think that win for them was huge. Obviously, them not wanting to go down 0-2 in their home building too. After they were the top team. But I think it's tough. I was gonna say the goaltending is really good. Not in the Minnesota Toronto series. We have not seen the best goaltending. I think either side is something to work on a little bit. But yeah, I think Ottawa. But again, you never know. I mean, Minnesota was the last team in last year, and they won it all. And same thing this year. And maybe that was part of why Montreal, they didn't choose Minnesota. They chose Ottawa instead, which I thought was interesting. Although there's different factors though too. It might be travel's a lot easier. You're playing Ottawa than Minnesota, that kind of thing too. So.
Final thing before we let you go, Heather and Kirsten, I want to get your thoughts as well on this. Again, I've only been to 1 game this year. Last year, I made it out a little bit more, but the schedule was more condensed and there weren't these numerous international breaks. And I think that's kind of the biggest question I have heading into as the PWHL still tries to find its grounding. It seems these international breaks, which happen more frequently for the women because the women have dedicated themselves to Team USA and Canada and what, and they go and participate these for extensive period of times. But that to me made the schedule so very hard, and it made it hard from a fan's perspective, I felt, to really grasp on and to make it. How have the crowds been, Kirsten and Heather? How do you think you can remedy this? I know you had mentioned last night one of the smaller crowds, and granted you're working against Mother's Day and you're working against kind of this out of hockey season now as we hit into the playoffs, but it feels like the fanfare is quieted a little bit.
bit, and I want to know how we bring that back up. Is it a scheduling problem? Is it the timing? What do you think it is? Kirsten, we'll start with you.
Well, we also can't forget to mention it was the fishing opener weekend.
It's fishing
You're
opener
competing,
weekend.
Forget about Mother's Day, you're competing against the Minnesota fishing opener. So
Yeah, it's
you have
never about
that
the
not
moms.
working for you. But I mean, the crowds have still been solid. There's still thousands of people showing up to these games. I would say last night, just surveying the crowd, I'd probably say there was roughly around high 4,000, 5,000 fans there. So all things considered, still a decent crowd for a weekend game, but not what they're used to seeing for weekends. Weekends, it's usually, say, closer to 8 or 9,000 that they're able to pull in. The Wednesday night games are tough. Not to mention it's 6 p.m. start time. People are just getting off work, so you have that going against you. But I don't know, weekends are kind of the bread and butter, and I don't think this weekend this time of year is hard. You're creeping up towards Memorial Day weekend now too, so
Well, and it's
we'll have
80
to
degrees
see.
out. Like I opted for a Saints game instead of the Frost game, right? Like you're with the family. It's a fantastic outing. And again, if you've never been to a Frost game, I encourage you to go. It's a tremendous product on the ice. They do a great job around it. But it just feels this year fans have not been latching on quite as much, this past weekend aside even.
Yeah, there's always kind of multiple factors too. I feel like whenever we're kind of looking at attendance, Kirsten's right. The weekend games always seem to do a little bit better. They didn't. I don't think they cracked 10,000 officially this year at any of their games at Excel Energy Center. Last year, of course, they had the like 13 some thousand for the opener, which was great to see. They opened the 200 levels and everything. It was packed in there. But yeah, Wednesday's going to be tough because you're always. I mean, it's always something. They had a busy January. One of those January games, I know it was like one of those 30 below nights. And then you get, all the youth hockey teams that maybe want to come out and see the games. They have their own hockey seasons. And now it's nice weather, so it's not hockey season, but they maybe don't want to go inside. Mother's Day fishing opener, you got the Wolves playoff run. The Twins were home yesterday too. I know there's a lot of people there. It's a beautiful day. So there's always kind of multiple factors. So I think it's tough. And yeah, the international breaks, like you said, I think have really crushed the momentum. Especially this year, they came back from that and had just one home game after that. 3 games total regular season. So there's a lot of people, I think, that you're still getting adjusted to what the schedule even is, even for casual fans or people that are playing, are they in season right now? Like what's going on? I had someone that thought, well, maybe it was like the Lynx where they play off the Timberwolves, and it's like no, they're playing now, but they have these breaks because they started right away December, and it's a 30-game regular season, but it's just spaced out with these different breaks, and I think that definitely makes it tough too for people to come out. But we'll see if they make the final. I mean, I was looking at the attendance numbers last year that they had, and then in game 4 they had that chance to win it. Thought they did win it. I think there was like 13,000 people at that game, so you'll get a little bandwagon effect, I think, too, if they get to the finals and have a chance to win there.
I mean, I'll probably show up for the finals. Obviously, I go where the winners
there
go,
you go.
and usually that's the women in this town. No, Heather, thank you so much for joining us again. The Frost back in action Wednesday. What time's the puck drop, ladies?
6 p.m.
6 p.m. 6 p.m. So they could win in advance or bring it back to Toronto. They go back to Toronto then, right? Yeah, because they're the lower seed. Yes. So very exciting stuff. Hopefully we'll have you on again. We will have you on again, Heather. Let people know where they can read your stuff, where they can follow you.
Yeah, to the socials, Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads, Instagram. I kind of post everywhere. And then with Frost coverage, it's been with Minnesota Hockey Magazine. So.
Perfect. You are the best, again, hardest working writer I know, covering everything from prep sports all the way up to the Wild and Frost. You're an inspiration, my girl. I love it. Plus a great human being and your family. Shout out to Barb, who I know will for sure be listening to this one even more so because her lovely daughter's on there. So we love you, Barb. Yeah, we know it. We love it. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk Wild. We're going to talk Hughes with the Beauties and dive into some free agency discussion. Stay tuned.
Guys, your Minnesota Frost are still playing hockey. They are in the semifinals of the PWHL Championship. Love to see it. You need some merch to represent rock the Frost, cheer them on as they work to repeat and become back-to-back champs. You can do that with SotaStick. You know we love all the SotaStick merch, and of course they have one that represents the Frost. That's in collaboration with Taylor Heisey and Grace Zumwinkle. The dynamic duo t-shirt represents the black cat, the golden retriever. That is the duo of Zumwinkle and Heisey. They worked with SotaStick to create this one-of-a-kind custom tee that could be yours. Add it to your closet today. Kirsten and I both have one. We love it. We rock it. You should get yours too. As always, don't forget to smash Bardown Beauties at checkout for 15% off all purchases on SotaStick.com. And go ahead, get your duo t-shirt. Get all your merch needs at SotaStick.com.
All right, we're back. One more shout out to Heather. Great human being. Absolutely adore her. Working alongside her. And again, she is the #1 coverer of the Frost. So they are very lucky to have her. I'm always asking her my Frost questions as well because she knows everything about them. So go read her work, all that. But let's switch gears back to the Wild, Kirsten. We love talking Minnesota Wild. Yes, the offseason is officially underway. I see that Krull and Matt Zuccarello have been doing their roundabout at all of the sporting events. They were at the Timberwolves, at Minnesota United game, which I didn't realize Lionel Messi was in town. I would have gone to that.
I didn't. I also drove right. I didn't realize the time the game was happening. I didn't realize the time the game was getting out. Me and my friend were going out to dinner in St. Paul, drove right by the stadium, and it was just chaos.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, not hockey related, but kind of hockey related because big Wild fan. Who else is also going to all of these sporting events? Kevin O'Connell is everywhere.
JJ was at the Minnesota United thing. I think Taylor Heisey was out there too. Like they brought all the greats. And again, I was like, wait, and Lionel Messi was there too. Like forget the Minnesota United squad. I would have gone for that, which makes sense why it was such chaos. I've never been to a United game. It's on the to-do list.
Neither have I. I mean, this would be the year to do it. I mean, I don't know anything about like the game, but just like the weather we've been having.
And I have to imagine the boy, like I think Matt Zuccarello, and I'm just assuming this because he's European. I feel like he's a big soccer aficionado. Like he just looks like a dude that would follow football.
I do think he is. I think I've seen him just like casually, like a picture or something, him in a soccer jersey.
Yeah.
So I do think he is.
Maybe that's it. And mine, I feel like the Timberwolves game, they looked a little out of their element. Like they looked a little like we're here. Like I think Krull wasn't even wearing a whiteout shirt, which, we're missing the purpose.
Well, yeah, Zuki was. Krull was not. And people are like, Zuki, make him put it on.
Exactly. Speaking of those two, Kirsten, and we're going to dive into this, obviously, as we get closer to July 1, when Kirill Kaprizov is officially eligible for an extension, when that gets signed on the dotted line. Because, yes, I am under the impression that it will get signed. But the latest rumblings on this past week have been Kirill's going to be the highest paid player in the National Hockey League. Now, Connor McDavid is also up for an extension. He is another eligible player that Edmonton is going to want to re-sign. They threw 14.5 at Leon Draisaitl last year, so we know that's the mark. And Kirill and McDavid obviously above that. I don't know if Kirill anymore, though. To me, I don't know if he's above Leon Draisaitl.
I wouldn't. It's hard to say because Leon Draisaitl, as great of a player as he is in his own right, he's also had McDavid. Like those two, A and B, B and A, they've always fed off of each other. I don't know. And we've seen this a lot too in the NFL as far as like market value and stuff goes, how the market resets, especially like right now. I think the quarterbacks are going through that, but it was a stint with wide receivers. And Kirill's contract's going to reset the entire NHL market as far as what players are going to get paid. And then, yeah, I fully expect Connor McDavid to then get a higher contract, but it just, it's crazy, and it's somebody that's not good with numbers. It's hard to fathom, but I would agree. I don't think he's, and again, this is not me saying he's not a star, not that. I don't think he's Leon Draisaitl, but I think, yeah, the man needs to get paid.
He does, right? Yeah, 100%. And you're right. I guess I hadn't considered that's the tandem. But to me, I just feel like Draisaitl is always like, that sounds stupid because people are going to twist that and say, well, she's saying McDavid's not relevant. Like Drasaitel's always doing something, right? Like that's not what I'm saying. Again, he's kind of like the Mitch Marner to the Austin Matthews, and I like those types of players a little bit better, just because I like the unnoticed things that they can do that are also very noticeable and very effective, right? So I think that's maybe why I tend to lean toward Leon versus Connor McDavid. Plus, Connor McDavid doesn't like ketchup, and that just is a strange thing to me.
But he does like Nickelback.
But he does like Nickelback too. But yeah, Kirill resetting it. If you're Kirill Kaprizov, aside from getting another player on free agency, how important is it, do you think, that they bring
back Matt Zuccarello. We spoke with Matt Zuccarello at the exit meetings, and he was his typical self-deprecating kind of jokey self. And he said, if I'm Krull, first thing I'm doing is making sure that his friend Matt's gets an 8-year extension as well with this team. And, kind of was having fun with that. But it does beg to question. Yes, they didn't play together toward the end, but they do have that chemistry. They have that very clear friendship as displayed across the sports in Minnesota this weekend. Do you think that's part of the package deal? Do you think Krull honestly does bring that to Bill? Because as funny as we might find it, I could actually see it happening.
1,000%. I don't know what the contract necessarily would be, because Zuki is at the end of his career.
He's only 37.
He's only 37, but I didn't, correct me if I'm wrong, because you were there and I wasn't, but I thought I heard some audio saying that, yeah, he's going into this year and then see what happens from there.
It was mostly because his contract would be up. That was kind of the question leading into that for sure. And he did say, though, to his credit, which I think a lot of professional athletes tend to be this way too, is I will only play if I'm able to contribute and be something. I don't want to be there just to be there and still be a professional athlete. And I think there's still something in it. It's funny because then we countered that with Krull saying, Mats had said he would love to stick around. And Krill's like, I don't know why. He can still play very good. He basically said he still is very capable of being a player. So he could play until he's 39. And this year Zuccarello didn't have any injuries aside from the ball getting blasted off, right? Like there was no problem. So he does seem to be fairly good in shape. If I'm Guerin, I would feel maybe okay with another 2 years of Matt's if it's something that Krull is wanting, not at a crazy price, but I guess it wouldn't bother me so much as it would have a couple years ago.
2 years would be a no-brainer to me. And honestly, I think, it's not even we know whatever Krull wants, Krull is going to get. That has been made very clear by Craig Leopold. Whatever, get blank check, Krull, like you name it, we will do it. So if, and I'm sure it is, he wants Zuki there, Zuki's going to be there. That's just how it is at this moment. And honestly, too, we thought even at the beginning of the season, this might be more of a down year for Zuccarello, and it wasn't.
No.
So I wouldn't be mad about it.
And again, I imagine they go back to putting Krull and Zuki together at some point. I don't mind them separate, though, either. I didn't dislike what I saw from Matt Zuccarello. There were times where he was a little quiet. And again, more noticeable without Krull, but that's most players without Krull, I think. Yeah, 2, even 3 years, I think would be okay with me. Speaking of what Krull wants, top 3 forwards you'd go after in free agency. We could do this throughout the course of the year. And again, we will do this as it gets closer to July 1, because right now it's just all speculative. But top 3 forwards, because Bill Guerin did say he feels very set in the blue line, in the back end, right? I think they're pretty good there as far as defense goes with Juracek, with Faber, Broad, Spurge. You still got Bogosian back there. You got Middleton. And you've got Zebullium, obviously, as well. So they're set there. So that's why I'm limiting it to top 3 forwards. Who are you going after in free agency if you're the Minnesota Wild?
Mitch Marner, obviously. Brock Besser, second. Pasta's a free agent this summer, right? I think he is.
Right.
I think he is.
Yes.
I'm going Pasta. Those top of my head, no logic behind any of it, except for Mitch Marner. Those are my 3.
And are we signing them to pretty good contracts, right? Like not just price-wise, but term-wise too? Or would that vary between each of them?
I think it would vary a little bit more between each of them.
Okay.
I don't know. Right. That's just kind of where my vibes are leading me right now.
And I think, again, we'll dive deeper into it. We'll give you guys more to grasp on right now. I just want to get the names out there. Just get the floaters feeling out there. Again, this is specific to free agency. We have some questions that we will get to in our Q's with the Beauties here coming up right after this. But just for free agency, I agree. I like Brock Besser. Which is it goes against my whole criticism of another Minnesota guy. I'm kind of sick of the, yay, they're coming home narrative. Brock, there is the concern. And again, Brock Besser, there's the concern of injury for how young he is, but that's the thing. He's young. And I still think he's got enough juice left in the tank as opposed to Brock Nelson, who doesn't. Now, the thing with Brock Besser is he's obviously not a center, and I would love to get a center in the fold. So this is where I'm going to go. I don't think it's controversial, but I'm not even 100% sold on it. So Brock Besser, yes, lock it in. Love Ben Hankinson. I'm sure he'd love to bring Brock home. Yada, yada. Great. I'd be happy with putting Brock. Gives us that depth. He's a top 6 forward. You can move guys around. Love it. Sam Bennett, I can't decide how I feel about him, right? I think he's kind of a goon, but he's a very talented goon, and he's a center. He wins faceoffs, but he plays very rough around the edges. He's kind of like a little bit more skilled Ryan Hartman, in my opinion. So that's where I'm kind of a little nervous. I think Florida's going to do everything they can to try to keep him as well. But he's 28 years old, 40 plus points in each of the last 4 seasons. If he gets to free agency, I would absolutely love to do a 4-year deal at 4.5 for him. Again, the only concern is kind of that temperament and some of the style that he plays, and if that is going to be a problem to harness, if you will. But Sam Bennett, I think, is my center that I like.
I don't hate it, and I like the logic that you've brought to it. I think that's a good one that might not be as high on people's radars, like everyone, myself included, looking at the big flashy. Because now we have money to spend. That's me when I have money. It's like, let's spend it.
And to be fair, he's completing the 4-year 4.5, so I think he'd probably be warranted 6 to 8. So maybe we cut the middle and go 7, and you give him a 6-year deal. Like if Krull likes him, and Krill's like, well, if I'm going to sign an 8-year extension, then I want Sam Bennett here for at least 5. I think people will go after Sam Bennett. But that's one thing. And here's one that I think I don't know how you're going to feel about it. And I don't know how Wild fans would feel about it. I don't know that it would ever happen.
Now I'm nervous.
I know. I'm sorry. Nikolai Ehlers. He will be a free agent. It's very rare to see that transpire, obviously, in the division, in the conference is a little bit more, but I mean, coming from Winnipeg, Nikolai Ehlers, guys, is young. He is very capable scoring winger. I like it. He's 29, so you're kind of hitting him at his peak alongside Krull, right? He could be that guy. He wants to win, I imagine, obviously, like everybody does, but I think there's room possibly there for him. He's completing a 6-year, $6 million, so he'll be looking to upgrade that. But I think he's under the radar for a lot of teams, and that's the reason he's appealing to me. Is like, I don't know that he's as high up as your Brock Nelsons, as high up as your Bessers and Marners and all of that. So like they might have a little bit more of a shot.
Yeah.
Do you hate
I don't
that?
know. I don't hate any of that.
Okay. Even though he was a Jet. Because that's the thing. I think it's very hard to come from the Jets or the Stars, I think, into this market. I can't imagine that fans are very forgiving of past. And I believe Nikolai Ehlers had that little scuffle with, wasn't that him with Krull? Ehlers and Kaprizov. Or am I thinking? I'm thinking of Cole. No, Cole Perfetti was. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe
Minnesotans don't forget.
They don't forget, but I did.
As I like to say, the North remembers. The North remembers.
So yeah, that's what I'm going to start with. We're going to start with those 3 each. Let us know what you guys think. I'd love to hear your 3 forwards. We're keeping it to forwards. Yes, centers are high priority, but we can dive into centers. Is there any other players that you would love to bring as a bonus? Like whether I want a goalie. I'm bringing a goalie. I don't know who that is, but I'm bringing a goalie. I'm sorry. I'm worried about Jesper Velstad.
I am too. I'm a little nervous. Ryan O'Reilly. He's another one that I would like.
Is that just because you enjoy watching him play?
Yeah.
He was the greatest center the Minnesota Wild ever had for like
greatest center the Wild ever had. Miss him.
Apologies to Mikko and Jewel though, but like yeah.
Respectfully, I am nervous. Bill Guerin's gonna go after Brock Nelson, and I really do not want Brock Nelson because one, I think you're gonna get a better deal for him in free agency than Colorado paid. Colorado paid a haul for Brock Nelson, but it just still makes me nervous the money we could be spending. Granted, he does still have a lot of upside. He's getting older. I want a younger player.
Yeah. You know what? I have audio of Bill Guerin talking about free agency. Let's just toss that in there real quick. Here is Bill Guerin and what he said about free agency and when it comes to spending. So take a listen.
July 1 could be a day of mistakes too. We don't want to do that, but we also don't want to miss out on opportunities to make our team better. I think our D-core set. I'd like to focus on forwards. Well, probably more center position. I think Eki needs a little help. He's in a battle every single night, and there's no easy nights for him. So I think if we could create some help there, I wouldn't be opposed to a scoring winger either. But we're going to have to look and see who's available. When it comes to free agency, and then there's always possibilities of trades too. So we're going to explore all that stuff.
So yeah, I mean, mistakes can be made in free agency too. Like I've always said, that's my biggest concern about even looking at a goalie is because people overpay the shit for a goalie. That's probably not worth it. And the same thing can be said about forwards too. I mean, that's the whole point of free agency is players get paid, right? But a lot of mistakes can be made. So I love that Bill Guerin said that. I think for Brock Nelson though too, all the clamor is probably because it seems the most realistic. Like, oh, he's from War Road. But if I'm Brock Nelson and I'm not ready to call it my career yet, I'm not coming to Minnesota yet. You know, like, because it gives you that whole, like, oh, this is my swan song. I'm just coming home to retire at home so I can work with the home team. Like, if I'm Brock Nelson, I don't want to come here either right now. Like, I would try to stay with Colorado. You know, I would try. I don't know. I don't know if I would be ready, but we'll see. We had mentioned goalies. I just want to give a shout out to Marc-Andre Fleury playing in his first World Championships. The reasons it's his first is because, well, guys, he has never been out this early from the playoffs, so he gets to join Canada. I caught some highlights. Dude looks like it's 2009 again, right? Like he is out there windmilling, making saves, having fun. It's just hard to imagine that he's actually going to quit hockey because this dude is not playing like he's a guy that just retired from hockey.
And he's back with Sid, and I love that. That's honestly probably the most wholesome thing about the whole thing.
So wholesome. I mean, do you think he could ever do the Tom Brady thing? I know some people have commented on our socials or in our YouTube saying it would be the best prank ever if Fleury was like, haha, JK, I'm not retiring, and just came back for a year. Like,
It would.
I think he hated all the fanfare too much this year to like do that. Like, I'm coming out of retirement. I'm doing this thing. And if he did it, what if he did it and just did it for like the most random ass team though? Like Utah, the Utah Mammoth. Speaking of, let's quick weigh in. Utah Mammoth, do we like it?
I don't hate it, but I had my heart set on the Outlaws. I thought the Outlaws was just so chef's kiss.
For whatever reason, I think of Outlaws as like a Montana thing. So like maybe if Montana ever gets a team, they could be the Outlaws. I don't know much about Utah.
Just Utah. It's still, I think it's part of biker country.
Okay. It probably is. Again, I don't know a lot about that area, which I would love to visit. It looks beautiful. I have nothing against it. I just don't know enough about them. I just always think of like horses and wranglers and outlaws as like a Montana thing. I watched a little Yellowstone. I also hate that they couldn't do the Yeti for that reason. Like, not that I loved the Yeti as the name because it reminded me too much of the Avalanche and their mascot and stuff, but like, how stupid. Like, literally, the Stanley Cup is a thing, but the Stanley Cup is a thing, and like to have Yeti be like, oh, it's a branded name. Like, it's a completely different entity. It's a whole creature.
Literally a mascot.
Literally a mascot.
We're not selling a cup. That's a missed opportunity on Yeti too. They could have come up with a partnership. Think about it.
What a great
marketing 101.
Just dumb. But what's not dumb? You guys. Ton of great questions. Truly appreciate everybody. I think we got them all in here. If not, we'll try to roll some of these over into next week. But let's start off. First off, Libby B, we just covered this, so I'm just going to give her a shout out. But she had asked if you could sign a free agent this summer, who would you pick and why? We kind of ran down our top list. I think Ryan O'Reilly is Kirsten's just out there, throw it out, kind of go for it thing, which I'm all in. I don't have a throw it out there kind of thing. I don't know. I'm starting to really come around to the idea of Brock Besser as being like my top. Mitch Marner, he is like the golden thing for me, but I don't think we'll get him. So
probably not. I think people are going to be clamoring.
Exactly. But shout out to Libby. J Carroll 4991 wants to know, considering we were penciled in by the media at the beginning of the year, how do you feel the season went as a whole for the Minnesota Wild?
Exceeded expectations for sure. I think probably my mindset has changed because I was very, very surprised by how they came into the postseason. Yes, we know it wasn't the sexiest way to roll and clinch a playoff spot. It didn't end the way we wanted, but they gave Vegas a run. They played hard, and I think even Marcus Foligno had said that. It shows where this team is moving forward. And so now that we're out, we can't blame the Suter Parisi contracts anymore. We're heading into clean slate, 25th year anniversary. It just feels like a perfect storm for good things to happen to Minnesota next year. So I feel like although not the end we wanted, it's left me feeling good about the direction we're heading.
Yeah, I would agree. I think exceeded expectations without a doubt. It moved that bar. it was comforting almost to see what they were able to achieve with the players they had, because it does give you hope and promise for what's to come, right? Like, I would have liked to see a little bit more from the younger guys, aka like to see them in the lineup. Like, I would have loved to see a little bit more from Liam Ogren, right? I would have loved to see even a little bit more of Zeev. I understand the decisions made, but in some of those instances, it would have been interesting. But the fact that you're not going to return a number of those guys next year, I think, is exciting. Like, I'm very excited. So as a whole, because I was part of that media that penciled them in as being very meh, it was impressive for them to show me the way. So bravo to them. Yeah, you get the next one, don't you? Sorry, I got distracted.
Let's see. Where are we? We talked about that one. What's Rossi's trade value after the last season performance? What general manager would want the Wild's fourth line center? I'm going to interject really fast. He's not a fourth line center. Like, you can't, like, yes, he was put down on the fourth line, but that does not constitute him as a fourth line center.
But I do feel like that was a facetious ad. Like, I feel like Name Can't Be Blank knows that, and I feel like that was why he kind of was like, oh, we're gonna poke fun, because I believe he was one of them that was rooting for Rossi to be with the team, as most of our fan base seems to be. That being said, again, we talked about it. I don't know, though. That's just me interpreting it the way that I interpret it. I could be wrong. You could absolutely think he was a fourth line center.
Some people do.
I think he's a third line center. That's Kirsten and I disagrry on that. I don't know that he's a top six forward anywhere else, frankly. I mean, you probably a top six forward in San Jose or in Anaheim or Buffalo, maybe.
I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair at all to say.
Again, I very impressive. To go back to the initial question, based off last year's performance, as we talked about last week, he went from 40 points to 60 points, and he was consistently healthy. He had his Ironman streak. He played gritty when he needed to. There's something about it that trading Marco Rossi isn't going to hurt me at all. It's not bothersome to me if you're getting what you need in return. I know that's a question, Kirsten, that I'll flip to you after this, but I think there are plenty of GMs still that could utilize a player like Marco Rossi. If you have a team, I think Buffalo could be a really good fit, because you have a guy like Jordan Greenway who's got some size and some grittiness that I think could be great on his wing. Plus, you've got Tage Thompson too. I think a Buffalo, or maybe even a San Jose, who's in kind of that rebuild mode. They have money to spend because, as I mentioned, I believe the biggest discrepancy in getting Marco re-signed is the money element. If he's asking for $8 million, well, no, I'm going to take Sam Bennett for $8 million, not Marco Rossi for $8 million. That's just how I'm going to roll. But I think San Jose also has a ton of cap space to play. Marco could bring a veteran presence there. So I don't think that there's a lack of interest if Bill Guerin was actively shopping him. And I think Bill knows as well that Kirsten's going to come for him if he doesn't get what is deserved of Marco. But
also, it's because look at the trajectory. You look at the past seasons. He's continued on the upward trajectory. So as history goes, if he continues that way, he's just going to keep rising. And you look at what San Jose is doing. San Jose has been loading up. Yeah, it's been down year. Granted, this year's NHL draft not that deep as far as prospects go, but now they've got the number 2 overall pick this year. You've got Will Smith, you've got Macklin Celebrini. San Jose's down right now, but they're getting good.
Yeah, no,
same with Anaheim. They've had some down years, but look at everything Anaheim has done. Like, it is building the foundation for them. They're going to be good. Like, year or two, they're going to be good.
Been waiting for Anaheim to get that together. They're going to be good. I think San Jose is going to be better than Anaheim earlier than Anaheim, just because Macklin Celebrini, I think, blew me away this year by what he was able to achieve. My vote for the Calder. But yeah, I would agree. I think Marco's only 23. Yeah. You're right. I mean, there's a high value on that age alone, right? Like, he's only 23 years old. So there's still a lot. You wonder what, it's interesting, right? Because as a general manager, you have to be a salesperson. How do you sell a player that you're clearly not interested in, though? Like a guy that you're like, I don't know, he didn't do it for me. I don't like him. He didn't do it for me. Like, how do you turn on the charm and be like, but he's really good, and I'm not just an idiot? Like, do you lie and just be like, you're stealing him from me, blah, 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 in your head, knowing that, like, I hate this kid?
I don't know. I think, granted, you've heard more things than I have. I think hate is...
It's a very strong word.
It's a strong word, and I don't think Bill Guerin is thinking that.
Billy, I know you listen to these, so no, I
yeah.
But And speaking of, let me find the other one. I know there was a couple about Marco Rossi again. Tons of questions this week, you guys, which is
Most
so
of them
great.
about Marco Rossi.
Yeah, we understand. We understand we love Marco Rossi here. But you know what? Let's just go. We're going to skip it. How hot is Billy's seat now that the buyouts are off the books? The Wild need to be a perennial cup contender, in my opinion, or you need. This is also still part of Name Can't Be Blank, by the way. And he said they need to be a perennial cup contender, in my opinion, or you need a new GM. Thoughts?
I mean, I think there's a lot of grace having, and I hate saying it because it's not the participation aspect of it. They made the playoffs. We know how important it is for, and I'm not trying to say this in like a sarcastic or condescending way either, but I mean, for any team across the league, it's important to make the playoffs. That's huge to make the playoffs. So I think Craig right now, where he's happy, where he's sitting, he's happy we made the playoffs, but obviously you're left wanting more from that. And we just got out of the buyout situation, or maybe not officially because it's not the new league year yet, but we're not going to have that on the books next year. I think after next season, pending what happens, I think this is a big prove it year. Pending what happens from there, then yes, he could be on the hot seat.
Yeah. No notes. I agree. I think the clock starts now, right? He made it through the buyouts. You've been waiting for this moment. I haven't been as upset. Yes, I disagreed with the trade deadline this year, right? And I maybe questioned the trend and signing in the offseason, but it's not been to the point where I think you need a new general manager. I have seen a number of general managers in my time covering this team, and Billy still to me hasn't done enough where I'm like, I can't stand his decisions, because there's been more good than bad. More of like the decisions that I've questioned have turned out far better than I could have imagined. So I do still think he's got some time there, but that's my opinion.
I would agree. No notes on that. I know. I'm scrolling. I'm looking. Is this highlighted one a good one? Yes, it is. Okay, considering Minnesota has lost in round one every year, would they have been just as well to keep Suter and Parisi through their contracts?
It's from Gord M, who also gave us a little shout out. Appreciate you. The interesting point of that is they've made it 8 years. Let's again focus on that. As Kirsten said, it's not easy to make the playoffs. It kind of is because half the teams make it, but it still can be very challenging, especially in the division that the Minnesota Wild partake in. No, I think that the buyout still needed to happen. It was a tough decision, but having covered that team during the Parisi Suter era, it's night and day. And I know we make so much about the locker room culture, but that is such a true thing. Like if you look at these cup contending teams, you see the behind the scenes stuff, the Florida Panthers, of the Dallas Stars, of the Jets, like there's that camaraderie. And during the Parisi and Suter era, when I was covering the team, as I get to go visit the locker rooms of both visitors and home, I'd go into the visitors room and be like, wow, these guys like each other, because it did not feel that way across the hall. Like, and I think that's a big reason those teams were never going to get anywhere. Yes, Zach Parisi and Ryan Suter, elite skill, but that distance in the room was so palpable. Like there was just tension all the time, and you're not going to be able to build a winning team around that. So I think the buyouts needed to happen. Yes, you're in the same position, you haven't made a run, but the team is so much better off for it. And again, I like Zach and Ryan as people outside of the rink separately. I just don't think that they were built for the role here with the Minnesota Wild.
Valid point.
Okay. You know what? Let's go move on to similar question. One final one is Minnesota Independent asks, is Leopold the new Glenn Taylor? He wouldn't let Guerin bottom out, and he seems satisfied with 8 straight first round losses. At what point does he have to consider a general manager change, whether it's promoting Billy and moving to Judd Brackett to GM? The piece that I want to take out of this, Kirsten, so Judd Brackett is the brains behind the operation of some of these pickups, right? Whether it's prospects, draft, all of that. Do you see Judd Brackett moving into a larger role beyond just the head scout? Do you think he would make a good assistant general manager? I don't know if that's even a transition that generally is made, but that's kind of the point I want to focus on from Minnesota Independence question is Judd Brackett assistant general manager or possible general manager?
I mean, I think it's an interesting thing to think about. Not one that I ever had, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, same.
But also, I think he does such a good job in his role with prospects. I don't know that they'd be so eager to make that move if everything was lined up for an organizational transition like that.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a lot to think about. You're looking at me like I'm supposed to ask another question, but
I
you
just
said that
asked
was
that
the last question.
Oh, I didn't mean that. No, there's a couple. Sorry, I meant the last question on the topic of Bill Guerin.
Oh,
Contending.
okay.
Sorry. Pick one more. We're gonna have to overlay these because I just looked and we have exceeded our time limit with you guys. We love you guys, but there's so many great questions. Pick your favorite one of what's remaining. I'll pick my favorite one, and then we'll finish the rest off later this week.
Yeah, I'm gonna make this quick because got a lot to do today too, you guys. Which jersey is my favorite? And it is the OG jersey from year 2000, the inaugural.
Now our buddy Hockey and Loud Music loves his jerseys. He preferred no 78s. Mine is the green Minnesota script one. It's the only one I actually ever bought. I have like all of them. I have all of them. I hate the red one. I'm sorry. I know that's a fan favorite. Hate it.
Get why
I just don't like it. It's not comfortable to wear either with the big circular chest. I just don't love it. And then I'm going to pick this one from our friend Seth Topol. Don't forget to check out him on Locked in Wild. All right. Tough one. He says, you have to give 4 years, 4 million AAV to either John Merrill, Gus Nyquist, Justin Brazo, or Marcus Johansson, and you have to do it. Which one gets the 4x4?
Johansson.
Okay. I'm going John Merrill. Interesting, right? I think Johansson probably makes sense, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see. All right, again, there are more. We will get more of those answered next week, if not later this week on the socials. Appreciate you all. As always, shout out to SotaStick, Royal Credit Union, Grainbelt, Talk North. You guys are the best. Go Frost. Can't wait. Check out the World Championships. And yeah, talk to you next week. Near, 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 near.